Welcome back. News beyond your borders now. Harare witnessed police clamping down on opposition members as interim leader of the Citizens Coalition for Change, Jameson Timba, and 70 other activists were arrested, allegedly for holding an unauthorized political meeting. The CCC activists had reportedly gathered at Timba's residence without authorization, prompting police intervention. The situation escalated into violence, with the group resisting arrest, allegedly, and clashing with law enforcement officers. Several CCC members sustained injuries during that confrontation. And obviously that confrontation not in the visuals we're showing you right now, but let's unpack the story. Joining us is Promise Mkwananzi, the spokesperson for the Citizens Coalition for Change. Promise, thanks very much for joining us this afternoon. Perhaps let's begin with the court appearance from this morning. We understand those who were arrested, those 70 other activists who were arrested, face charges of illegal gathering.
Yes, they are facing charges of illegal gathering and intention to cause violence. But as you know, these are falsified charges. It is also not true that our members were resisting arrest. It is also not true that they were having a public gathering. They were having a private gathering at a private space at the residency of Mr. Timba, as already mentioned.
It's ironic, Promise, because at the bottom left-hand side of our screen for our viewers, you can see the arrival there of Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa ahead of Cyril Ramaphosa's inauguration in South Africa tomorrow. Tell us more about what the CCC faces in a country like Zimbabwe.
Yeah, it's quite paradoxical that these people are being arrested for commemorating a day of African Child, which is a historical and significant day in the history of South Africa, and which is celebrated the world over. And would expect Mr. Mnangagwa, as a former liberation fighter, to recognize this day and to allow Zimbabweans to celebrate this day, in particular because of the time that we are, where there is a historic transition or transformation in South Africa, in which he is a delegate and congratulating Mr. Ramaphosa.
Are the 70 activists and CCC members still in police custody this Tuesday?
Our members are still in police custody as I speak. Their court has been postponed up to 2:15. They are now in the court and will be hearing soon whether or not they will be granted bail. But in our view, these people should not be even before the courts because they have not committed any crime. They have not gathered publicly without notifying the police.
And those who sustained injuries during that confrontation with police, how are they faring?
As you saw, you may have seen on some of the footages that are circulating, they are not faring very well, and they have not been granted detention under medical conditions as applied for by our lawyers. Our lawyers have said that the injuries are serious and these people need to be hospitalized even if they are under police custody. But the police have insisted that they remain in filthy police cells at Avondale Police Station and Harare Central Police Station, respectively.
I understand, Promise, that a number of the activists who were arrested are young people. These are 80 youths, almost 80 youths who have been arrested and, as you say, are still in police custody. What kind of message do you think this sends in a country like Zimbabwe?
Well, the message is clearly that there is high levels of intolerance in Zimbabwe, rampant human rights violations, and an aspiration by Mr. Mnangagwa to restore a one-party state situation in the country. And this resistance infuriates him very, very much, and thus the hard-handed descending on the activists, young people who were commemorating a very significant and historic day in the history of Africa, in the history of South Africa.
You know, you talked about in some of the media coverage around these arrests, you talked about the arrests showing a democratic regression. Is there a way that the CCC is now, thinking about changing how it approaches its stance in Zimbabwe, the way it deals with the government, the way it conducts protest action going forward?
Yes, we obviously continue to review our strategies to see what works and what doesn't work. But we also look up to the Southern African Development Community to monitor closely the situation in Zimbabwe. We know that SADC is a democratic institution, and they are there to promote and protect democratic progress in member states, in particular here in Zimbabwe. But on our part, we will continue to put pressure on the regime by embarking on non-violent and peaceful protests that are permissible under Section 59 of the country's constitution. We are going to see more people coming out in protest, more people calling for the unconditional and immediate release of those that are detained. And this is a continuing program. We will not allow Mr. Mnangagwa to extend his term or to put an additional third term outside the constitution of this country. We will do everything permissible in our democracy to stop him from doing that. There has to be a dialogue in this country that deals with the issues that SADC raised during the observer mission here in Zimbabwe, so that never again should Zimbabwe go into a disputed election.
Promise Mkwananzi is the spokesperson for the Citizens Coalition for Change in Zimbabwe.